Stay here if you want to see a man who boldly criticizes politicians and exposes their lies and hypocrisy. This time he has set his sights on British politics the way he says only he can. He's not afraid to be honest. In his recent comment, he did not hold back and criticized Keir Starmer, emphasizing that he considers him an absolutely incompetent and stupid politician who is unable to solve real problems, especially those related to immigration. We're starting to watch.
And because the people in charge, the posh, privileged people in charge, were acting like Charlie Sheen. I mean, really rubbing salt in the wound. And as I say, I don't get political, but they're all
Ignoring problems leads to a split. This has become an acute problem, symbolizing deeper political failures. Starmer has guaranteed us that, under his leadership, Labour's commitments to nationalise water, energy, railways, and the Royal Mail in 2019 will be included in Labour's next election manifesto. The recent anti-immigration riots have been a wake-up call for many. Starmer doesn't care what really bothers ordinary Brits.
The far-right activist Stephen Yaxley Lennon, better known as Tommy Robinson, was today jailed for 18 months. He'd admitted contempt of court after repeating false claims about a teenage refugee. Well, Garrett Vincent is at Woolwich Crown Court for us this evening. So Garrett, what happened in court?
Well, this hearing, Mary, was the latest turn in a legal process which began some 6 years ago with a video which went...
Apart from immigration, all of Starmer's actions are a source of frustration. He is reluctant to take a stand on issues affecting the working class, such as rising house prices, stagnant wages and inflation. 1,000 prisoners will be released early as part of the government's efforts to free up prison places in England and Wales. 1,700 prisoners were released early. He did it completely without warning. There are currently just over 2,000 available places in prisons, but this number is expected to decrease again by next summer. For many British citizens, this is an urgent daily struggle that requires decisive action, but Starmer's position often looks calculated rather than purposeful. People ask, what is the urgency of solving these very real, very urgent problems? Working-class communities are particularly concerned because they feel abandoned by a leader who claims to represent their interests, but rarely speaks directly about their needs.
I think Starmer's one of the worst prime ministers we've ever had, and he's only been with us 81 days. But look what he's done in those 81 days. He's allowed the Chancellor to go ahead with a scheme where 4,000 pensioners could freeze to death this winter. And those are Labour figures, by the way, not Tory figures, OK. He's introduced a raft of policies like energy, which could make us dependent on overseas energy ad infinitum, so dictators around the world will control what we have in this country. Never mind the sleaze. I mean, goodness gracious, he stood up in the Commons once, looked across the box at Boris Johnson and said, sleaze, sleaze, sleaze. There's never been a sleazier Prime Minister. Never been a sleazier Prime Minister.
Then Keir Starmer.
Never.
So what makes you call him sleazy? Sleazy's an interesting word for you to use.
Well, if you're walking around in other people's suits to try and improve your image, I saw one...
Well, it's his suit, it's just paid for.
Starmer promised to protect working people, improve healthcare, and make housing more affordable. But to this day, many of these promises remain empty words. When Starmer is asked about specific solutions, he often evades the answer, which only increases public distrust. A typical Labour budget: loans, taxes, expenses. 27 million people work in the private sector. They went there and took a huge amount of money from the private sector, which is the sector that provides all the growth and all the profits in our community, and they gave it to 5.5 million people in the public sector.
And now, it emerges that Sir Keir Starmer took over £100,000 worth of freebies, with this graph showing that he has taken the most donations by a huge distance of any Member of Parliament since 2019, in spite of being a millionaire himself. This champion of women's rights took down a portrait of one of the greatest politicians of the 20th century, Margaret Thatcher. He claimed that that's because he actually doesn't like to be in an office where there are portraits looking down on him.
And many people wonder if he cares more about himself and his family than about actually standing up for the people who need it most. When Starmer took over the Labour Party, he declared himself a figure of change and promised to fulfil a number of commitments, including workers' rights, environmental protection and fairer economic policies. He promised to be different from the Conservative government. However, he immediately reneged on some of these promises or softened them, disappointing supporters who believed in his original vision. I wonder how much longer they are going to torment us and we will be able to be safe and sound when this new regime imposes huge taxes on us again, imposes bureaucracy and additional costs on business, sends millionaires creating wealth abroad, taxes education, permits uncontrolled migration.
Welcome along. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves have allowed asylum seekers to live in their spare homes. Oh, no, sorry, my mistake. They're profiting off the fact that you now pay for them to live on Downing Street by letting out their spare houses. Easy mistake to make. The Telegraph reports that the Prime Minister is now a landlord. It's believed that the home that he bought for £650,000 in 2004 is now worth a cool £2 million. And he could be making between £3,000 to £5,000 a month from renting it out. The Chancellor is also doing rather well. Her husband, who it will come as no surprise for you to learn, is a top civil servant, and Reeves reportedly makes 74 grand a year alone from renting out their house and a two-bedroom central London flat. It's reported that Reeves also has a house in Leeds, so that's quite the property portfolio.
Starmer promised to nationalise basic services such as railways and utilities, but now he is unwilling to do so. This turn of events led many to believe that he was not interested in fighting for real reforms. Starmer's indecision on these key issues has made him vulnerable to criticism for not having a clear vision or pivot. This inconsistency not only alienated many in his own party, but also caused the public to distrust him. His promises were only a political strategy to take power. Right now, voters are looking for leaders who demonstrate conviction and strength, not hesitation and compromise. A recent opinion polls show a decline in public support, and many Britons are openly calling for his resignation. According to recent polls, the Labour Party's advantage over the Conservatives is shrinking, and some voters are wondering if Starmer is really capable of leading the country during a crisis. A significant number of people are disappointed in him and in his party. He is unable to solve the key issues. Recent opinion poll results indicate a worrying trend towards Starmer, as the public increasingly loses faith in his leadership. His centrist approach does not give him anything significant, as he tries to balance between polarizing points of view without fully accepting either side. This indecision has led to serious disappointment, and even members of his own party have questioned whether he is fit to lead the Labour Party in the next election. Ultimately, Ricky Gervais's criticism reflects the sentiments of many Britons who believe that Starmer's leadership lacks the determination and intelligence needed to make real change.
And that's what people hate. They hate the hypocrisy. They hate the perception of these entitled politicians having a great time. And I tell you what else they hate. They hate the lies. And it's quite obvious to me that there have been lies and that there are still lies. So in itself, that setup of the message during lockdown from Lord Ali's flat that was made to look like Keir Starmer's own property, that was a lie.
In addition to his leadership style, Starmer's credibility has been undermined by a series of scandals. One of the most notorious scandals is related to the struggle of the Labour Party against anti-Semitism within the party. Starmer has been criticised for his efforts, or lack thereof, to combat anti-Semitic behaviour among some party members. Another contradiction that continues to haunt him is the ambiguous position on Brexit. Although Starmer initially advocated a second referendum, his position after the referendum was much less clear. Many voters felt betrayed by his inconsistent approach to Brexit, and some accused him of being unreasonable. What do you think about this video? Write your opinion in the comments. I want to hear your opinion. See you soon.